Good morning and welcome to PWR Today. It's Wednesday morning. It's June 11th, 2020. I'm the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by and listening to us. Hey, folks, if you haven't yet done this, make sure you get on over to YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Fight TV. We're available on the old Spotify and everywhere, especially the YouTube. Everywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to PWR Today from the Pro Wrestling Report. Make sure you're giving us a like. Make sure you're giving us a subscribe. Find out when new episodes and new content is being dropped on you. I know that coming up tomorrow night, we've got more content from Hurricane Helms. He's going to be talking to Dave and Damien on Primetime with Hurricane Helms. And we've got more stuff even coming up this Saturday with Primetime, the big show. Welcome to the big show. Going to be with all the associates, including Dave and Damien. And again, a big pay-per-view this Sunday, WWE Backlash. So we'll be talking all about it. But speaking of talking, we're going to talk to the man called Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning. And I would like to add, too, if you'd like to do a really special favor for a friend, you can always make them a mixtape or burn them a CD of some great moments from one of our shows.
Do people still burn CDs?
My friends do.
Do your friends also know what 8-tracks are?
Maybe.
Is that West Virginia coming out? Wait, you're not West Virginia. Excuse me.
No,
you were Virginia.
Yeah,
sorry to insult
just
you.
Virginia. Thank you. That's
sorry to insinuate, to imply, to infer. You were one of the McCoys, not the Hatfields.
One of the Thomases.
One of the Thomases. Fair enough. All right. So Matthew, we've got AEW and we've got NXT coming up tonight, and NXT coming off a pretty big pay-per-view on Sunday. Did you get a chance to see it?
I did, and I know you and Linda chatted about it a few days ago, but I want to say I think this might be my favorite thing that has come out of the wrestling industry during this very, very strange period that we've been in with no audiences. I think it was a great show from top to bottom, and WWE, I feel like they finally got it right with the audience. This had a much different feel than the WWE audiences have had. The NXT people, the developmental people, if you will, have had since they have been trying to put people in attendance behind the hockey glass. I thought this was great from top to bottom. The In Your House set looked amazing. It was a visual that you had the whole time to take away the fact that you're in an empty arena. I thought the set looked great. I thought the ambiance of the crowd was fantastic. I liked the beating on the hockey glass. That seemed like a really good way to have some noise in the background without the, what WWE's done on the SmackDown and the Raws up until this point with the developmental people, I felt has been very distracting. A lot of up close camera shots of the crowd, very cheering for the heels, or cheering for the baby faces, booing the heels. It just did not feel like it flowed. It felt like it was just not doing what it was supposed to. They really were hitting on all cylinders on this pay-per-view, and the matches from top to bottom. I thought it was excellent booking. The backlot brawl, I thought that was the highlight of what I've seen with these highly produced segments that we've had during this time
Better
period.
than Taker and Styles?
I liked it better than Taker and Styles.
Really?
I liked it better than Taker and Styles, I think largely because you've got two people in their prime. There was more physical that you could do. I kind of like the Uber part too. I thought that was very entertaining.
Uber was funny. I thought they could have done more, but
yeah, the spot from the ladder to the car windshield, I thought was amazing. I really, really liked that. Just from top to bottom, the pacing of the card I thought was great. But I really think that might be the answer for right now. Is I was a little perplexed by the hockey glass the first time I saw it, but I really felt okay with the beating on the hockey glass. Just give me some background noise that is not, distracting. And I thought that was the perfect little mix of background noise and just the set. Here's another little thing, and I don't want to go off the rails and just talk about the visual presentation of In Your House, but something I noticed on this with the lighting, there was just enough of a glare on the hockey glass to where you were not noticing the emptiness of the audience and the vacancy of that space back there. I kind of like the glare. It felt like a much more jazzed up studio production. Really, really excited about what I saw out of that, I hope that WWE as a whole learned something from the production there, because to me, this was the closest back to normal wrestling that I felt, during this whole time period.
I think I got it. It's taken me 3 nights and 3 mornings to kind of go over this, and 3 conversations with Linda, with Dave, and now with you. You know what was missing? Well, they had the set, obviously, so there was something different in the background. It didn't have the huge Titantron. They didn't have as many lasers.
Yes.
Lasers.
Yes.
So on NXT, the lasers were missing. They didn't have lasers with freaking sharks with freaking lasers. So it didn't seem as obnoxiously glaring off, all that light glaring off of it.
Mm-hmm. No, and I mean, AEW does a great job with Daly's Place. I mean, that's a venue that they are very, very fortunate to have when they're there, because you've got the natural light in that amphitheater type environment, but that's not going to be something that everybody, has the luxury to run. So outside of what AEW has done in that venue, I think as far as just, small studio, which is what they've got, basically, this was an absolute home run. I mean, not to detract at all from the in-ring athleticism that we got. This was fantastic wrestling from top to bottom. I thought the finish of the main event was absolutely amazing, with the pinfall taking place, while Rhea Ripley was in the figure 4. Just fantastic booking, fantastic performance. Just a great effort on all parties for In Your House. And I might be saying all of this because I got to see Todd Pettingale.
And he did reference the old 900 number. Well, what's that? 900 numbers don't exist anymore. The internet broke them. Okay. If he would have dropped in 1-900-909-9900, I would have lost it.
Well, here's the thing too. I was trying to think, over the last few days prior to this, when was the last time we got Pettingale on any WWF at that point programming? It would have had to have been late 90s, right?
At the latest. I don't even know if he was around late 90s. I think Attitude Era, he was gone.
Yeah, I'm thinking 97. I think he may have been at WrestleMania 12. I think you still may have had some Pettingale at that point, but I don't know if he was out there outside of 1996.
And, to be honest, I think that's right around when Doc Hendricks disappeared and Michael P.S.H. showed up again.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't know where he went to, but I am glad we got to see that little picture of Doc Hendricks there.
What a nice perm, too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I may have to get one of those for the decor in my domicile.
He had a really good DDP type perm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, you gotta, perm's one of those things that you either got it or you don't.
If I let the hair grow out, it would be a natural perm. And trust me, this would be a John Cougar Mellencamp head of hair. Little pink house is for you and me.
I'm thinking, I mean, if there are live events and wrestling action happening in Milwaukee in December, I mean, maybe that's what you strive for. Maybe you strive to have that perm ready to go for the next Blizzard Brawl whenever that takes place.
Well, it would keep the head warm because there wouldn't be any blizzard on my head with 17 pounds of hair. However, that hair is never coming back. I mean, I joked with Dave Hero, talking about Cal's head before he got the haircut. Brother, I've worn that hair before. I know what it takes, and I know how much work it is. So, no, it's not happening.
A little bit of upkeep here and there. I think you can change your mind.
Nah, you have no idea. So enough about my hair. We digress enough to talk about my 80s look that I had going on, back in 86. We actually, one more thing, we actually have a picture of me, 1986. I want to say it was sophomore year, whatever it was, a picture on our wall at my job with, what we look like in high school. That is really a glorious picture. I look like I don't know where I am. I got this big mullet and my mouth is hanging open.
And that's probably a pretty accurate statement.
Hey, it was 86, I don't know what to tell you, man. Jordan was hot. We get the dunk contest with Wilkins. I mean, It could have been, Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, all sorts of different things going on there. So who's to say?
Well, right. In my barometer for the 80s is figuring out in 86, which police academy would have been released that year?
I want to say that's probably around the Bobcat Goldthwait time. So we're in
We're
3 or
probably
4.
3 or 4. Yeah, we're probably
Or is Citizens on Patrol?
Yeah, that was Citizens on Patrol. Was that
the last Gutenberg one?
Yeah.
He had already tapped out. I mean,
also,
he was
your random fact for the day that I did not remember until recently. Did you know that Sharon Stone was actually in a police academy?
She was. I believe she was in 3.
She was in the last Gutenberg one, because they were taking, they took, so that would have been Gutenberg's last one and Sharon Stone's only, where they took off in a hot air balloon.
Because that's how you end Gutenberg runs, is you go off in a hot air balloon.
Exactly.
Did she know what she was into? Did she know she was getting naked in Basic Instinct after Police Academy? Did they look at Police Academy and go, you know what? You've done enough PG stuff. Let's talk about this movie here with Michael Douglas.
I mean, that seems like a logical progression to me.
Well, there was the stop in between Arnold Schwarzenegger, but be that as may. All right, so NXT, we're done, and we're done talking about the 80s and my hair.
Can we talk about Police Academy some more?
No, we may not. Even though Damien, who listens to these as well, would love to talk more Police Academy because he was a big Lieutenant Hooks fan. Let's talk AEW now. Again, we have some news coming up this week on Fyter Fest. We do have dates for Fyter Fest. It's July 1st and July 8th, which will be airing on TNT. News that kind of evolves around the PWR draft. Matthew, you saw the totals, right? You see who's still in first?
That would be you, if I'm not mistaken.
It would be. And, I survived this little barrage, with all these little pay-per-views in between my big pay-per-view where I won money. Let's get back to a WWE pay-per-view, and it's time for me to get more points again. So, I probably should put some money aside and get myself built a trophy because I know the rest of them won't build a trophy for me. Would you be willing to chip in on that?
Yeah, and I mean, what I would enjoy is actually maybe constructing some participation trophies for everyone else.
Dave already has a participation trophy, so I don't think he's going to want another one.
That's true.
AEW coming to us live again tonight from, what's it called, Daly's Place?
Daly's Place.
They've got a great thing going on there. It is open air. It's a naturally dark building that they only light because they have so much room in the building. They only light what they have to. I think that's one of the reasons why it just looks aesthetically better.
And I believe last year's Fyter Fest was the first time I saw it. It was one of the pay-per-views last year where I saw that building for the first time. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I mean, for everything that's going on now, it could not have had a better place to have a deal with. Just because that's, you typically catch it right as the sun's going down. Is when they generally. You know what
they could do, honestly.
What's that?
I mean, you can make this I don't know what their WrestleMania is, but this is their home building. WWE always had Madison Square Garden. They run, out in LA for SummerSlam. WrestleMania's in Orlando, and we'll get to that in a second. But you make Daly's Place your top building every year. I mean, what a great deal.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about capacity there. I mean, we can find it via the magic of Google, but it's really hard for me to guesstimate capacity of that just because it is such a unique venue.
Sure. Now, we were talking about Orlando, and you gave me homework that you wanted to do for our, kind of freestyle segment. You watched 24, Ric Flair, WrestleMania 24, the build-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't give me that kind of homework and have me watching it where I'm watching it and not expect me to cry in front of other people. My God. I mean, we talk about The Undertaker, and there's a new episode coming up. I think it's this Sunday after Backlash.
Yeah.
We talk about The Undertaker and just, being able to put ourselves in his boots and walk a day in his shoes, about how these guys are just the best in the business at what they do. Ric Flair, for all intents and purposes, is the best professional wrestler there has ever been. There's never been a greater performer than Ric Flair. Now, we've all seen the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair, and we know what made Ric Flair, coming up, and maybe he wasn't feeling loved. He wasn't, where it kind of pushed him to be the Nature Boy. We got to see those, what was it, 72 hours around WrestleMania 24? I think that's what 24 was about.
Yep. Yeah. It
How
started
can you
with
not
the
want to just break down and cry just
yeah.
watching the man reach the pinnacle of the business and the respect and love from his peers?
Not only that, but I think one thing that really comes across in this and also any other Ric Flair documentaries that you've watched recently or just interviews that he's given, and within such stark contrast to the character of Ric Flair, he comes across as a very genuine and humble person. And one of the more interesting pieces that I've gathered in the interviews that Ric Flair's given over the last handful of years is when you look at the epitome of confidence, it's Ric Flair. And really hearing about some of the struggles that he had in his final
Right,
WWE
exactly.
run is so interesting because, you quintessentially look up confidence in the dictionary, you think Ric Flair, and to really hear about his struggles with self-confidence, it's very, very motivating. And I think something that everyone, can relate to in a very, very encouraging story. So that is one thing that I find extremely interesting in these Ric Flair interviews as of late.
You know what I pulled from that too? Triple H is the wrestler whisperer.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Going back to the last Ride series, going back to this, you are spot on.
I mean, we all know Triple H as the guy who, was in WCW, terrorizing. That didn't work out. Came over to WWE as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, had the Click, had the what was the name of the thing where they were all doing the send off, and he got put in a doghouse for that. That's the Triple H we all know.
Curtain call.
The curtain call. We know the Triple H from DX. We know the Triple H. That's the game. But I mean, we also think of the guy that technically married his way into the business and got his. You could make an argument if you were a hater to say that he slept with the boss's daughter, and that's how we got. Triple H is, kind of the Ric Flair of our generation. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, there's also an alternative universe somewhere where you went to King of the Ring 96 and Triple H was crowned King of the Ring 96 because the curtain call never happened. See, there is that alternative universe somewhere.
Bizarre world. That's where it's at. But I mean, Triple H is the wrestler whisperer because, he said it to Undertaker and he said it to Flair. His exact words to Undertaker was, "You're the fucking Undertaker. Don't you forget it." And it's ironic that his words to Flair were, "Everybody knows you're Ric Flair except for you. Be Ric Flair."
And I think that is another example of why the company is in excellent hands. And it's so interesting you mentioned that, and we started talking off at the front of the show about how great I thought NXT in your house was and how much better it has been than the other main roster product. And I think a lot of that is because Triple H is the wrestler whisperer.
The wrestler whisperer and the production whisperer. Thank you, Triple H. I mean, you don't need it from a meathead like me or a Matthew Thomas like you, but thank you, sir. I mean, I might not agree with every product. I might not be entertained by everything you do. And like the old man thing that you did with DX and, Santa Claus behind you trying to get on a computer and looking like, a couple monkeys that were going to start smacking the computer side to side because they couldn't get the AOL to work during you're in your house. But other than that, you know what? He may be the Ric Flair of our generation. That day when he wants to go into the Hall of Fame, because obviously he's the one that's going to put himself in, and he can put himself in how many different versions? He's already in twice, right?
Very good point.
I mean, he's in as DX, he's in as, Evolution. He can go in now as Triple H, and that day may never come, but when he does, who puts him in? I mean, that's a conversation for another day, but Triple H, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Without a doubt. And again, I think that, a lot of times I personally forget how much involvement he has behind the scenes in NXT. The wrestler whisperer, but also by all accounts, a very big wrestling historian. And I think he takes the art form and takes the business very, very seriously. So no, you're spot on with that.
Folks, we've been talking about Ric Flair, Triple H. I mean, we've been talking about NXT. We've been talking about 1986 hair. I think we're good. Don't forget to go to Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Fight TV, all these other great venues. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to us. That way you get to know when the new content comes out. Again, we got a lot of great stuff coming up this week. Matthew's talking to me on Wednesday mornings. I'll talk to him again Friday morning. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.